Hard sell versus soft sell. What are you doing?
Can I give you a depends answer, or are you going to make me pick one?
I'm going to make you pick one.
Then I would go for the hard sell.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that makes me so angry. So, like, I signed up for recently for outbound due to you. I feel so dumb. I run a marketing company, but outbound sales is not a skill that I have. Like, it's very different than, like, attracting and building trust. And so I'm trying to figure this out, and it is not easy, man. And I know you're really good at it, and you're good at, like, the LinkedIn outbound, like, DM, connect, that whole thing. Dude, this thing is such a heavy lift as a founder. Like, I'm running this whole ship, and I'm doing some client service still, which I need to get out of, but I'm still doing it. I don't have time. I don't know where you find the time. How are you doing this? Because, like, I honestly want to know.
I like making money more than I don't like making money, so I force myself to make the time.
Ugh, yeah, okay.
That's one. Two, I think you're probably better at client management than me. We probably have a natural tendency to spend more time on the things we find come a little bit more naturally. I probably spend too much time. There are days where we'll hit our revenue goals and I'll be like, what if we could beat it? And I'm like, or I got what I wanted to do this month. I could back it down and I could go focus on some other things.
Check in on some people.
Yeah, need some of my attention. I think using sales tools is very similar to doing sales, right? Like, do you know who hates cold calling?
Me.
People who haven't made a bunch of money doing it or converted. People just hate doing stuff they're like bad at, that is repetitive, that they like can't seem to crack the code on. And sales is that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's the cold outreach that I don't like, because I love the sales meeting, like the discovery calls that I do. We just put the title of the movie in the movie. Let's
Little
go.
Easter egg there.
Yeah. But like the discovery calls are my favorite, because I get to learn about a business and like dive in, and like our conversion rates are good, and I get to talk to like more people and founders and all that stuff, and like that's what I like to do. I do feel annoying, I think that's the actual emotion that I feel during outbound, is like I feel annoying, but then also I'm like, man, am I wasting my time?
Do you know in sales when you get two objections and you're like, one of those is false and one of them is the truth? Which one of those is like less prevalent than the other one?
I think the real reason is I do feel annoyed. Like, I'm annoyed by all the emails that I get. For me to then add to that for someone else feels not great.
So here's like a good way that someone told me to think about like this problem. There will always be bad cold outbound, because there's just bad people and there's bad sellers. Just the way there's bad founders. Like, that's not going to go away. But just because someone else sucks at it doesn't mean that you are going to suck at it. It actually just means the barrier to be good is so minimal. You have like 95% of what makes a great seller, which like you love the discovery call. I think every deal is won and lost on the discovery call. People go into proposal reviews and know if they're going to buy generally or not. And it's because like you asked them the right questions and found a pain point on the discovery call and figured out if you could help. I think, one, you hate and feel annoyed by doing like all this outbound, the lead gen, the like I'm talking to a person that doesn't know if they want to talk to me. All of that can be automated. 100% of it can be automated. What can't be automated is, and I think will never get replaced by AI, is you running like the world's freaking best relationship building discovery call, which is already what you're good at.
Yeah, I mean, that part makes sense, right? Like, I think it's the cold outreach piece and like automating that and automating the targeting and discovery and like adding, people to lead lists that match our ICP, right? And going through and like, okay, how am I getting 100,000 yoga studio owners, right, on a list that doesn't cost me $1 million to do? And that's an exaggeration, of course, but like doesn't cost me a ton of money, and also doesn't cost me like 9 hours to work through. And like it should take me that much time to reach 100,000 yoga studio owners, to be honest with you. It's not that ratio of time to outreach is bad. It's just more of like, I don't think I really have the 9 hours in the first place, and that's the hard part.
The things you have to get good at to make this process work are like 3 things. One, You gotta have the infrastructure, meaning you have to know what platform you're gonna send cold emails on. You have to know where you're gonna pull the list from. 2, you have to be excellent at list building. This is probably more important than anything. 3 is the message.
Yeah, I think those first 2 steps, though, like getting the list and cleaning the list, is just what is the most foreign, probably, and the reason why I'm probably the most hesitant. To your point, right? I don't think I'm going to be that annoying to someone with a message and offers that are truly beneficial to them, right? I don't think that that is the annoying part. It is the fact that the amount of effort that it takes to collect that list and clean that list right now, not knowing all of the things that are out there to help me do that probably feels very daunting.
You're probably better equipped to do outbound than any SDR you would hire or anything like that. Like now is the time in particular to just figure it out. When you get an AE in 2 years or whatever, or a sales rep or a customer success rep to support, you want to be able to, like, 1, be better at this than them. 2, tell them, like, I don't need you to go, like, invent how to do this. I have a playbook that works. I need you to be better at me at running it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that, right? And that's why I want to learn it, right? I don't want to hand it off because my big thing is I want to be able to call bullshit on somebody if they're trying to gas me up and say, like, no, we can't really do that. Because with consultants or contractors that I've worked with in the past, I'm sitting there like, yeah, this isn't a thing. And I'm sitting there going like, I do that too. And it's definitely a thing. You just are lazy and don't want to do it. You should be doing it better than I am. And I did that for like content management. Our head of content is better at content than me now. I brought her in. She was not. Our web designer, I brought him in. He wasn't a web designer. He wanted to be. I was kind of, and I was decent at it, but not amazing. And then now he's way better at it than I am because I'm like, dude, take it and run. I need to do the same thing for sales, but I'm like at a much lower, like, starting point.
The last 2 things I'll say on this are 1, a good like note to remind yourself or to give yourself some grace. There was a time in your life where you sucked at building websites. There's a time in your life where you sucked at managing people. You're in this phase of your life where you feel like you suck at outbound and lead gen. 3 years from now, if you get this right, you'll look back and be like, God, do you remember when I thought I was hard? Like,
you're 100% right. You know, it's just one of those where like you look at the mountain after you just like descended from another and you're like, God, here we go, back to zero, right? As a founder, it happens all the time, right? We do it very often. I'm in year 6. The first 3, I was like, yeah, let's go climb mountains because we gotta, right? Like, give me the Appalachian Trail. And now I'm like, my knees are tired. Like,
yeah. Nice grass hill is good enough for me right now. Yeah. Selfishly too, right? Like, as somebody that's just seen so many poor performing agencies that I think don't take care of their clients, and it is a like very happy client of yours. Like, I want people to be able to experience your team and how you think, and I'm excited for you to try to figure this out. I think that I'm on the other end of that of like good at outbound, like not as good at inbound, and I think getting both of them for any entrepreneur is like the dream, right?
Yeah, you want both halves of that sandwich. Like,
yeah, maybe we could just trade.
Dude, I'll do yours if you do mine. Is that how you say that?
This is the first guy I want to talk about. Dude, this is like my dream entrepreneur. Like, when I think about what just gets me like fired up about entrepreneurship and about helping people, it's like this guy. So Matt Foster runs a multi-million-dollar company called Motorboat Mechanics, and we are the same age, which is like makes you want to be more successful than you are, right?
100%.
This guy like grew up boating with his family. Like, he did a lot of this, and I've talked to him before, and the first time I told him, I was like, oh, did you like grow up fixing boats? They're a motorboat mechanic company in like the southeastern portion of the United States. I was like, I assume you just grew up doing this. And he's like, no, I really still don't know how to like fix a boat. Like, no. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And he goes, no, man. So like, we needed a boat fixed, and I called like 5 mechanic repair shops, and he's like, dude, 2 of them didn't even answer or call me back, and then the other 3, they basically all gave me some variation of like, I mean, yeah, if we can get to it over the next 3 months, like, you know, we're just pretty backed out. This is ridiculous. Like, I just need to get my boat fixed. He was like, I think this would be super easy to like spin up. All I have to do is answer the phone and be fast.
You just need a system that actually works.
He started this, and the first couple he did on his own. Like, he was an engineer. He told me when we talked, he's like, I think I could figure this out, is what I like told myself. And he's like, I did for the first few. Now they have a huge team of contract employees that go in and work on these. But like, I just think that that's like so freaking cool of being able to go out and let me go pull up his website here, but like just being able to go out and call people when you don't even have a business and say,
Yeah.
Oh, could I like do this for you then? And I think great value prop, like let's get you back on the water faster, is like super cool. I'm like, if you could sell that without having a company, this guy could sell anything.
You could probably just go around, drop a business card on the back of every boat on a dock, and then that could be a huge lead gen.
Dude, yeah.
We're going to come to you if anything's broken, if you just want a tune-up or a checkup, or like it's boating season, make sure that you're all good. Like we'll come to you and do like a 10-point inspection or whatever. Like I don't know anything about boats, but like maybe that's something they have to do. Maybe it's not. But it sounds like it'd be something that I would want if I owned a boat, of like, yeah, just make sure it's all tuned up and make sure that I'm not going to get stranded out on the water.
It's a great company. It's super recession proof. Like it's not going to be, tech will never replace this.
I mean, tech will not replace it. No, at least not anytime soon. I do think it is effective by recessions, only because what happens when you don't have a lot of money, you're probably not going to go out on your boat as often because it costs money every time you do. It's a luxury item, right? And luxury items get stuck.
I'm willing to give up food to go fishing, Steven. So my experience.
That's how you get your food, right? So you're getting your food out there. So that means it's worth it.
That's a good point, though. Like that, and I was talking to somebody last week who was like, detailing businesses do awful in a recession because like, who the hell is thinking about getting their car detailed during that? So that's a good point.
To me, it's like one of those. Okay, he found an aged or an antiquated market, and then just said, how do I build automated processes around this to make this easier, rather than some dude writing in with dirty hands in a notebook of like who they need to go to next. Because it feels like, like car mechanics. Like there's franchised car, like Midas and Mavis and whatever other M you want to call it, right? But like I've never heard of a franchised boat mechanic, because not everybody has boats. It's probably not worth it, right? But something like this makes sense because the mechanic stuff is so antiquated, but they now have systems because they're large enough. Yeah, I like the idea of like the mobile Globo gym of boat mechanics. That's pretty funny.
What's interesting too, a business like this, I was talking about this with Jack from my team because we were like targeting blue collar folks anyway. These people are always selling. They are always trying to find like the next thing. And half of selling in a company like this is even a customer saying they don't want to work with you anymore. And like, you're like, I cannot lose this deal. Like I've got to like keep them somehow. And it's fascinating to me. These guys, I think, are forced to be good at outbound, and they're forced to get good at sales, whether they want to or not, because they interact with customers, I feel like, more than a tech founder would.
Yeah. I mean, they would have, at least like, if it's not the founder, right? It's like the manager of the mechanic shop. But if it is mobile, like maybe it's a centralized thing, and they are doing like outbound sales, because the list of people who have boats is manageable enough where like that is a very discerning line that you can probably target on, especially if you partner with like boat dealerships and things like that. That would technically be more of a referral base than outbound, but you could go to every marina and just like partner with them and then do outbound to their lists.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's companies like that, when you get them up to like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in revenue, like how you get them to 20, I think is very fascinating. So
yeah, that's just more locations, right? More marinas.
A couple other ones I found that I thought were interesting, like total switch on like industry.
Sure.
This one, Marissa Sheehan, I think you've also met before.
Yes.
She basically worked in like the automotive aftermarket industry for, I don't know, like 7 years, something like that. And like they did like car detailing, I think, and paint protection film and just stuff like that in Canada. And she saw how these shops were ran and managed and sold to, and how they created profit, and all the margins for 8 years was like super close in this business. And I think I said this on a previous episode, Eric Gordon is like a sales dog. Marissa Sheehan is more of a sales dog. Sorry, Eric. Like she is probably the most impressive seller I've ever met.
I've talked to her. She will sell you on she could sell you on anything. Like you would just give her like random object and be like, sell this to me, please. And she'd be like, you have to have this thing. This is the most amazing thing you've ever seen. And I'm like, dang, she's intense in a great way.
I think that's her like kryptonite is I mean, she leans into it, right? She's a little aggressive. She goes for the kill quick. She's just like clearly like I'll call it like a pain point seller. Like when she figures out a pain point, she's going to make you feel like an idiot for like not solving this problem. I mean, that works. I can't sell that way, but it works for like that type of person, you know. And she left this automotive company and basically started doing like sales coaching for these businesses because they're like good at working on cars and not selling and like not distributing like big product. And that has been like really interesting to hear about. This is her website. It's like you can see like she grew up like in this industry, which is she could probably disassemble a car, which is pretty cool. But this woman, I mean, like I'm pretty good friends with her. You know, she's legit when you don't get any texts like, "Hey, how's it going?" You just get these texts from Marissa every day, like 16 texts that are all Stripe link pictures, and like, you know, you're just like. You don't even reply to some of them because you're like, I know she'll send me another one in 40 minutes. So maybe I can just batch say congratulations on like 6 of these.
She's just like, hey, proof. And
they're like, look at these prices, dude. Like this is not a tiny sale. This is you're more in this world than I am, but like this is a decent sized package, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, this would be towards the upper end of where we charge, right? But I mean, obviously, we're doing 2 different things. She's doing actual sales enablement and that kind of thing. We do the other side or the other half of the funnel, right? But if this isn't working well, you're done because there's so many people that we can get lead lists for, get leads for, and then they can't do anything with them. She turns them into like outbound and inbound, to use your word, dogs.
Her whole strategy, which I actually think a lot of people will probably be able to relate to, is she worked in this industry for 7 years, right? So she just met hundreds of influential owners and people. And when she left, was like, why would I not go try if I can work with those people? And it's just crushing. And I think you see that a lot with these people when they're like, I'll call it 30s and 40s that have been in a career for like 15 plus years that leave to go start their own company. You have such a huge advantage, honestly, compared to like the 21-year-old who doesn't have that network. Like just being able to outbound to people you know, even if you're not selling to them, say, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. This is who I'm selling this to. You know I do really good work. Is there anyone you can introduce me to? Like that's a great way to get your first, 10 clients.
For sure, because you've already built trust, right? Like it's already there. And it's really impressive too, because I know a lot of people that want to go out and do their own thing, but pick a different industry because they think that they're tired of the industry, but what they're really tired of is just the place that they work. And she's been able to identify like where she was working before she went out on her own, just like wasn't for her anymore, but she still loved the industry. Like that's a great combo, as well as like Matt, the founder we just talked about beforehand, right? Like he grew up around boats. He had a problem, right? He saw it and then he just went after it because he knew a lot about it. Now, again, I don't know his entire backstory and like maybe he had some hookups and things like that. But on Marissa's side, it's hard to find somebody who's more knowledgeable than her in all this stuff. And like it builds so much credibility on the outbound that she does because she can be like, this is everybody that I've worked with. You're like, oh, do you know this product or that product? Just because they're like throwing stuff around. She's like, yeah, duh. Like I've probably worked with them. So it's really strong because she has such an in-depth knowledge of the market that she's in or the industry that she's in.
That part of it is the most impressive part of Marissa's outbound to me. I've asked her before, like, you're great at selling. I think that you obviously geek out selling to blue collar people. Do you know how many industries you could like do this for? And she's like, no, I don't want to. Like, I know paint protection film and auto better than anybody, and I can crush it every single time I get on the phone with them. Like, could I help a lawn mowing company sell more? Yes. Will I feel as confident? And I actually think like that, to what we said earlier, that is her like kryptonite on the phone. I think it's very, I'll call it like mature of her as a founder to not want to, and look, maybe she does expand one day, but to at least, because it's her first year being full time, at least be super grounded in like, no, these are the clients I want to work with and I will max out this market before I think about going somewhere else.
No, I mean, it's super smart. Right. She found her niche. She's sticking to it. She's ignoring that pull to expand wider until probably she absolutely has to, which is hard to do. I mean, I thought it for 5 years, right? And now we're kind of expanding beyond our core ICP just because our core ICP is like very small. But, we've kind of hit that and now we're expanding. And that's where all this outbound stuff for me is coming from. Because I'm like, I need to get on more lists or find more people that are beyond this niche. Because like a TAM of 3,400 for us is, it's just not very big. Scaling for her is going to be a little tough because she has so much tribal knowledge in her brain. I think the thing would be like, okay, are there standard templatized things that she can build and then people can deploy and just like educate them on the industry, right? Which will take a while, but that's while they're learning the system that she deploys. I'd be more interested to understand like how customized is each, streamline or outbound process that she builds, or does she build basically the same one because she knows that it works? Because if it's the latter, then you can teach somebody else how to build that for someone, and then she comes in and does like part of it, or at least teaches them to be like she just needs mini me's, or find someone who is equally as good as her and maybe in a different niche, and then they just team up because they have a similar sales process that they do. So you could either just double up on her or find someone who's similar and you guys want to share like the risk and reward and make sure that you guys are also diversifying, because what if something bad happens and we get like kind of smeared in the market? We're done.
Do you think people like her and folks like you that sell a service that have like just industry knowledge, do you think it's easier to replace yourself first in the customer experience process? Meaning like in your case, you don't build websites for people anymore, you hire it out. In her case, I hire someone to do the sales coaching. Or do you think it's easier to replace who does the sale of the project? Like which one do you fire yourself from first as the founder?
I'm trying to fire myself first from the execution because that takes the most time, right? But I have the most knowledge on a lot of the things from like an industry perspective. So again, all I try to do is provide that perspective to everyone that works with me. And I still review stuff with them and do all of that, right? But I'm not doing the actual building of it. It's one of those where like they have to do the work and get good at it just like I did. And I'm there to be their safety net while they do that. I think it's harder to convince people that you're the right choice when you're not on the phone as an early time founder, right? Because no one's going to sell it like you do. And if you don't have the volume to be like, well, we're actually like, we do this much and we're really good at it. And here's all these proof points, but we're still scaling up kind of a thing. Again, no one's going to sell as hard or as good or as well as you are as the founder, because you're going to know all these nuances and you feel empowered to like make decisions on the spot for people like that. Maybe they're a really good opportunity for the business.
That's a good point.
And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to let $100 a month get in the way of that. Like I'll give you $100 off. It's going to make our margins a little bit smaller, but then we're going to get a really great example that we can then use to grow the business even more, because we're going to have an example in this niche.
Great answer.
Right. I have one last question for you because we got to roll here. Hard sell versus soft sell. What are you doing?
This is a great question. I would say, can I give you a it depends answer, or are you going to make me pick one?
I'm going to make you pick one.
Then I would go for the hard sell.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that makes me so angry.
Wait, really?
Dude, I hate hard sells. It makes me want to hang up the phone.
Here's the thing. Like, I've talked to so many of these founders, dude, who are like, I'm just nurturing this guy, just nurturing him. Like, we're just building a relationship. It's like, you've been building a relationship for 4.5 years. Like, do they know that your intent is to like get something to buy from them? They're like, nah, man, I'm just like, they'll come when they're ready. I'm like, at some point, you got to shoot your shot on this. And you can hard sell without being an asshole or without like burning your brand reputation. But like, I am a believer in just being direct on like, this is what I sell. You probably are an interesting fit for this. I'm going to be open to talking to you about it. If you hate that idea, feel free to tell me to F off and you'll never hear from me again. But this is what we do. I would love to get on the phone with you and tell you. Like, I think in a lot of situations that makes more sense than trying to nurture with a random person for 11 months. Now, if this is like somebody you met at an event or you have a relationship with, I think that's a little bit different. I would nurture those. A random LinkedIn person, like, dude, if your cover photo on LinkedIn says we help do better SEO and like build better websites and I'm an SEO owner and you connect with me, I'm not stupid. Like, I know what you connected with me for. Just like you don't have to ask me what my dog's name is and what college I went to. Just tell me how you can help me.
I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know. I have such a heart. It just that's where I feel sleazy.
I am going to turn this man into an outbound killer by episode 33. Someone write this down. By episode 33, Steven Cassano will be in Forbes something for being an outbound killer. I almost said 30 under 30, but you're older than that.
Hey, dude, watch it. Yeah, I can still make 40 under 40. I got time because no one cares about that list, and that's okay. But I'm excited to talk to our guest for this week. I think it's going to be awesome.
Ready?
But yeah, I'm ready. Thank you for the help, and we'll see how this outbound sales stuff ends up going here.
Sweet. Let's go. Yo, welcome back here. I told you, got somebody called Marissa.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I had no idea what this was when I was getting into it. And I still don't really know what it is. Well, I know what the podcast is. I'm excited to see what questions you ask me.
Gotchas only. Don't worry about it. We're going to put you in some tough positions.
I text Marissa enough crazy questions during the week that do you want to get on a podcast on short notice was like probably not that far out of the realm of weirdness.
No.
For folks that have listened in through the whole episode, Marissa is founder of a couple companies, one called Restyle Revenue, which is sales coaching, and just started another business because one is not enough, obviously, called Northern Armor. But one of the seriously best sellers I know, I think just thinks about sales in a very way that is timeless and is not going to go away, and is somebody that is very convincing and can have a lot of drive and grit when it comes to like doing sales. So when Steven and I started talking about outbounding and being good at sales, I was like, yeah, Marissa is the only person that makes sense to bring into this conversation.
I tell people all the time, like what I do now in my company with Restyle Revenue, which is sales coaching window tinters, is basically it. I work in the automotive aftermarket reselling industry, but I've been doing some variation of this for my whole working life. And I know this sounds like super corny and like something that would show up on LinkedIn. Like I started selling when I was 15 at McDonald's, but like seriously, like I was like upselling like crazy, adding McFlurries to everything. Like I loved it, but there's no better feeling than having a great discovery conversation with a customer and then putting them into a solution that they actually appreciate. And I'm not talking about like this like woo-woo, like, sales heaven where everything that you sell someone, they're like, oh my God, you've literally saved my life. But I'm talking about like, just like putting someone into a solution that is actually genuinely a fit for them and benefits their life. Like sales is service to people, and I will die on that hill.
All right. Lesson number 1, come with the energy to sell. I'm writing that down. You popped right into this and you're like, well, I'm ready to sell you at least my point of view on selling and why I love it so much. And I'm like, oh, I'm already in. I'm already jazzed up. And we're 2 minutes in.
Can you tell everybody, like when Steven and I were talking to the audience about you, like you serve such a very unique and specific industry that I didn't know a lot about until I met you. Can you tell people just like why you're passionate about the automotive industry and the detailing industry and how you got involved? Like why selling for that market?
So I sold cell phones for a long time, and I kind of like got to my ceiling there where like, I trained, I managed stores, I hired people, whatever. And the only real trajectory up was to go into like some type of district manager role. And at the time I was like, I don't really want to just be like driving around to a bunch of cell phone stores every day. Not that I didn't love it. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, I just feel like I want something else now. I feel like I'm ready for something else, right? I applied for a company that did windshield protection film. And I was like, well, I put screen protectors on phones. Why can't I put them on windshields? So I applied to that company. They were, startup at the time. And I was just one of the first sales reps. And I was with the company for 7 years. So I was just one of the first sales reps. I started as a business development representative. And then it was like 2 months in, the account executive that we had, because I kept booking these meetings for him, but I kept just selling it, right? So it was so funny. It wasn't formal at all. He just looked at me one day and I was like, hey, can you call this guy? He's like, do you just want to do it? Like, do you just want to do it? And I was like, okay, sure. Sounds good. So it truthfully was taking just the fact that I love sales, like taking something that I had sold that I thought was interesting to something else I thought that was interesting. And then I just immerse myself in it, because I'm the type of salesperson that if I don't know everything about a product, I don't feel confident selling it, which is why I'm a hard goods salesperson, right? I wouldn't say, I try not to use the word passion too much when it comes to business stuff, because I feel like passion then includes emotion, and I don't really believe in emotion in business as much as possible, because I think that you have to be making like very logical steps and logical moves. But I do believe in emotion, obviously, in the sales process, because it's literally like what sales is. But I love this industry and blue collar in general for a couple reasons. Number one, people stay in their lane. Mostly people stay in their lane. They're like, oh, you're good at this and I'm good at this. Well, let's just run parallel to each other and build some cool stuff and not talk over each other, not question each other, not like, obviously like still like sometimes my clients will question something that I do, but it's never from a place of like, I know better than you because I read an article on the internet, but you have 15 years of experience doing what you're doing, but I know better than you. Right. So it's not like that very often in blue collar. Another reason why is because they are genuinely, like, especially in my industry, they are just awesome people. Super, super welcoming. Like I can be myself in the industry that I work in. I can, express myself in the ways that I feel comfortable with. I can just be my personality. I don't have to be this like other person, right? Like I was a dental assistant for a while. That's what I went to school for. And I had to be different in dental assisting. And I had to fit a mold that just doesn't vibe with me. So yeah, that's why I chose to stick in it too. And also there's a need for it, right? Sales coaching is everywhere right now. It's like totally the thing. And there's a lot of sales coaches that cater to blue collar that don't have a lot of background in blue collar. They have background in tech and they're coming into blue collar. Kudos to you. Like, I don't care what they do, but I just have the background of blue collar and I just didn't want to leave it. Like, it just didn't make sense for me to leave it. But yeah, I love it. Stickers on cars is great. And I get to drive cool cars sometimes. So it's like, it's awesome, honestly.
I resonate with what you said, like very humble, very straightforward. They're super easy to work with. They're super passionate, which I think makes it easy to trade services with anybody that like really cares.
I think with blue collar, a lot of the times you're mixing passion and livelihood. Especially in my industry, no one works on cars really if they don't like cars. I've maybe found like less than 5 people over 8 years that are literally just trading at like a 9 to 5. Everybody else has some level of interest in automotive, in vehicles. They're car guys, they're car girls. They have build cars. They have a lot of build cars. Some of them don't run. It's an industry that has a lot of opportunity to grow. I'm very, very grateful to be part of, even if I'm like this much of a part of it growing. I'm very grateful for that experience and that opportunity. But yeah, I love it. I love it.
So I want to get into like sales questions though, because Eric and I were talking about earlier, like I'm a marketer, right? 2 different functions, similar, right? But different.
Yeah.
They're kind of bleeding together. So my first question to you is, where do you draw the line between marketing and sales for like what you do and how you teach?
Great question. So for me, the meld together of sales and marketing is that now your marketing has to sell to the consumer in a way that they identify with. And it's not off of like buzzwords and stuff anymore. They have to look at that ad and be like, oh my God, that's me. Now where I teach is honestly the cut and dry, which is the minute the lead hits your CRM, it's now sales. So yep. People will in like non-blue collar will be like marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead. I don't get into that stuff. I just say, once the lead hits your CRM, you're now responsible for it. And I think that's the easiest way to do it personally.
That's the way that we define it, right? Like it's our job to get them there, right? Let them know about you, that kind of thing. But then you got to land them, right? Yeah. You got to land the plane. We'll get the plane into your airspace, but you got to put it on the tarmac basically. As you're kind of going through and like, as you build CRMs for people, I'm kind of curious because like I'm actively like revamping my sales process. We're expanding our ICP. We're redefining how we're actually like engaging in our sales process as a whole to make it more repeatable, more sustainable, more effective in general. There's a lot of people that are going into this and like, as I'm doing my research, right? Like automated messages, nurtures, all that stuff. Where do you sit? I feel like you have to be very opinionated on this fact.
Okay.
Where's the line?
I myself would never work in a system like that because I don't want anybody or anything talking to my customers besides me. I build them, meaning I, help support with writing out the text messages, the emails, mapping them out. I think that the automation, in my opinion, should primarily be for helping salespeople stay on task, reminding them for follow-ups, reminding them to reach out, reminding them for whatever you need. I feel like in some service businesses, if you're getting like 400, 500, 600 leads a month, which is very common, then I do think that there's some merit having some automation behind it that will kind of help you with the leads that are kind of tire kickery. But you are either, in my mind, you are either choosing to employ more salespeople and run a structured, like classic sales process, or you have less salespeople and you close less and you will spend more money on marketing. So you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to pay salespeople, train them, be managing them because you have to? Or do you want to have less salespeople, run a little bit leaner in your business, but then you are always 1000% trading off the close rate? Because even though you can have phenomenal first calls with people, we are not in an environment anymore. And I need people to understand this. You have to be a hard closer now. You're not going to win otherwise. Especially, again, I'm talking business to consumer.
Yeah.
Maybe business to business is the same. I'm not sure. But business to consumer, especially in a commoditized industry, there's no way. And I can't tell you how many phone calls I listen to where the customer says, you are the only shop that called me back.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's this like weird slippery slope right now where there's a lot of people that are coming from outside of blue collar industries, or they're coming from the tech world or e-commerce or whatever. And they're like, we'll systemize your business. And then they get into high level and they go into people's businesses and they're like, oh, we'll like set up this whole thing. You won't even need to answer the phone. Why are we trying to get farther away from human connection? Like, why are we doing this? So I just like, it depends on the person's business. It depends on, their local. Like, I would never set up an automated text-based CRM system in Omaha, Nebraska. There's tons of money there for one. It's the Midwest, but that's like a local, like who like tons of car shows, like, it's like a very organic market. But then if we're looking at a place like Phoenix, Arizona, maybe, or Houston actually would be a good example. Like I might do something there because it's just a different demographic and there's just more competition and it's speed to lead and it's all of these things, right? So I don't really have a concrete answer for that because it bothers me when people think that one thing works for everybody. So that's another thing. Like I'm extremely customized with people when I build anything and I'm very cautious and I'm looking at like, what is the impact to your business doing this? We're not doing this during busy season. I'm not messing you up into a whole different CRM during busy season when you've been scheduling off of Google Calendar and a spreadsheet. I'm not going to mess your life up. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just like a grumpy old sales dog, 32, but I've been selling for 15 years. So like, formally. So like, maybe that's it, but it doesn't work.
Sales in this industry is so interesting. Like Matt Foster, this guy who runs it's like a few $1 million mobile motorboat repair company.
Yeah.
But he said he started it because he called 6 shops to get his boat fixed and like 4 of them wouldn't answer. 2 of them like said he'd have to wait 2 months. And he's like, oh, if I just pick up the phone and call people, I can do this. And now
100%.
He's got like 50 people a week that'll call in and want a customer, right? That'll want an interface. And his like scaling problem is people are like, why don't you just assign like an AI bot to that? And he's like, you don't understand. Like these people want to get on the phone with a human being and talk them through this.
I saw this statistic once and it was 85% of consumers, so B2C, 85% of consumers, when they call a business, they are expecting that business to know like what the solution is for them. Meaning like if they have multiple products, they're expecting that person to be able to consult and tell them what's the best for them. And 63% of people when making an automotive purchase want to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about. So it doesn't mean, and obviously that was on like a study of like 2,000 people or something, right? But it doesn't mean, because people automatically default to the dealership thing then, but what it means is that people want to talk to an expert. An AI chatbot is not an expert. If you don't want to talk to people, don't be in a people-facing role.
Fair.
You're just not going to survive. Like, it's just not going to work. We can see what's happening right now with like Gen Z, where they're all like doing their like coffee parties and stuff. And they're like going out and touching grass and like wanting to talk to each other and stuff again. People want to talk to people. People are very resistant to AI and automation right now. It's the thing that bothers me the most in life right now, truthfully.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, then, so my backup or my second question to that, right, as you're talking to someone like myself and Eric, right, we're founder led businesses. It's founder led sales. We're the only ones that are doing the selling for our businesses while we also run it. So we don't have full-time availability to do the sales. Obviously, it fills up our calendar as much as we can because we're trying to grow to the point where we can hire an SDR or a BDR or whatever it is. Where do you think the line draws, or how do you find that, like for a founder like us, where do you think that tactic from a sales side really comes into play? Like, is it like, okay, you can automate the first one and be like, yeah, we got your email, we're going to get back to you. Like, is that okay? Even just to like buy yourself time? Or is it like, do not engage until you're ready to actually give them like for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm setting this up. We have an initial automation that just says, thank you for your email. I just told, blah, blah, blah. Like Steve's going to be reaching out to you here momentarily, but just wanted to let you know that we received it and we're going to be getting to you, right? Like a nice, friendly, simple, whatever, right? Between that and nurture emails for outbound, where do you stand on like, is automation necessary? Should the founders be spending time going and doing one-to-one email outreach to potential clients? Like, where do you sit on that? Like efficiency versus obviously one-to-one, someone doing the actual work is probably the best. It converts the best, but in the realm of actuality and what's possible, what do you think?
Okay. I'm totally fine with an automated email or text message after someone inquires with a business. I do think that automated email or text message should throw something in about it that builds credibility to you or gets people more interested in what you do. So with my locations or my clients, something that I really like doing is, and that I've proposed to a couple of them, the first text that goes out is like, hey, like, thank you so much for contacting this shop. You've reached us outside of business hours, or someone will get with you shortly, just depending on the time of day. If you're interested in a shop tour, if you're interested in seeing like what our consultation processes look like depending on the shop. And it's like no pressure if you don't want to, like all good, right? We love a negative reverse sell. In terms of outbound, if I kind of harp on because my business to business experience was being a rep for like 7 years, right? In the industry that I'm in, I social sold a lot. So like I wasn't, because I also didn't really have a shitload of time to be doing a ton of outbound cold calls because originally, let me back up. Cold calls don't work in my industry because people are working with their hands. If they have to stop, put down what they're doing and answer a call and you're trying to sell them on something, they're going to be pretty upset with you, right? Dude, I see some of their email inboxes have like 26,000 emails. So miss me with that. I really social sold. Anybody that's watching this, I'm female. So this is a lot easier for me. Just letting you know, that's a real world thing. So I built my name up in my industry through doing podcasts, through helping people, through, taking good care of referrals, through industry events, and through the internet. And then it was a little bit easier for me to then, do this like kind of outbound cold thing because it wasn't really cold at that point. I have done a lot of cold calls though, and they do convert way better. I don't think that I'm like the best person to ask about the email thing because it's just not something that I've really done, but I'm always going to say call your leads. So like if you're just getting like general interest from people, I guess like my feedback would be, if you do it and you get nothing from it, but then you're still doing it thinking you're going to get a different result, that's insanity. And you should just pick up the phone and call your leads. Schedule, time block yourself, right? You can't tell me that you can't tell me that you don't have an hour a day to hit some dials. Like that's where I'm at, right? I think AIs are really, and like the things that we have now, the tools that we have now are really good for finding the leads. I'm down for that. Again, what's going to move the needle? Getting a giant freaking spreadsheet list of a bunch of calls that you can just hammer instead of spending that time, that 6 hours or something, trying to find a bunch of leads. Well, you could be doing better shit in that 6 hours. So then yes, automate whatever. The thing that I don't like automation for is post discovery call, nurturing and closing. That's what I don't like automation for. Again, it works in some scenarios and it's the only solution in some scenarios. Like if I get into an account that's getting 600, 700 leads a month, I can't just cut ad spend completely with them. I can't say, turn your ads off. We're just going to like manage your pipeline properly. It's going to destroy their business. It's a gradual, like, okay, so we get them better at selling, then your schedule fills, then we start to cut back on marketing, then we get them even better at selling, then you hire technicians, right? But it just can't be this hard stop. But I don't believe it closes at a rate higher than 15%. And I like to see a close rate of 70. on inbound intent leads through like Google or calls, like let's get to 60-70%. Like I think we could do that with, again, with training and the right people. With founder-led stuff, like you have to do what you have to do in the time that you have to do it. Just look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I actually doing my best?
It's a common practice, to be honest with you. Not about sales, just in general.
But, right? It's like, but if I spend this hour setting up this email automation to send out, 40 emails, is this going to move the needle? If the answer is yes, then do it. If it's like, well, I've done this a couple times and I'm not really getting a response from it, well, then maybe you should change what you're doing and you should try some other stuff. But a lot of people are just scared to do it. There's 8 billion people in the world. If one dude named John hangs up on you, there's like at least 55 million other Johns that you could call. Like eventually you'll like Johns again. Like who cares? Like literally who cares? We are all sacks of meat spinning on a rock in space. That's what I say. Pick up the phone, dial your leads. It will get easier. If it doesn't get easier and you hate it, go find something else. Or just hire a salesperson. Put them straight commission, man. Good salespeople work straight commission anyways.
Those people are dogs. One last cue for me. What is the biggest difference in your mind between like a good seller and a great seller?
Do they have fun with it? Yeah. Because again, like a good seller is somebody that can follow a system. In fact, a lot of the times great sellers are a little chaotic because they have a lot of energy. Same. I'm somebody that really needs to force myself to be organized. So it's kind of nice when you have like a dog and like a super great seller, and then you have someone that's like a good seller, and then maybe that person's a little bit more like on the admin side or the support side. But I really just think it's do you have fun with it? Because customers will know, man. Like customers will know if you genuinely like what you do. That's the reason why passion is a tough word for me, because some days it's gonna feel rough. Just knowing why you're doing it, the same way why you're trying to figure out why your customer is asking you, like why they want the product, like not, hey, I want the product for this, but like, what's the emotion behind it? It's like, what's their emotion behind sales? If they love it, if they love talking to people, if they love being the guy that people come back or the woman that people come back and they're like, hey, I was talking to them, they get referrals. That is what, but it all comes down to, are they likable? Do they are they having fun? That's what I think is what separates them, honestly, because process is process. It's neither here nor there. But like the people that really love it can also push through the stuff that sucks. So if they're like have a bunch of people hang up on them, they close, they lose some deals, whatever happens, they're like, water off a duck's back. We'll just keep moving.
I love that.
Dang.
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but it wasn't that. That was a great answer.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. Last one from me. What do you see the most people doing wrong at sales? Like you said, like there's like 3 different sections of your sales call, right? That kind of thing. But what's like one of the most common things that you're almost surefire every time you get into something, you're like, I'm probably gonna have to fix this though?
It's actually a hard thing to not a hard thing to fix. It's a hard thing to recognize. So the way that sales coaching or like sales is being viewed right now is, how do you roll the objection? How do you, when you get to the end of the sale, how do you take care of an objection? What I like to teach, and what is one of the hardest things, is what questions do you ask at the beginning of the sale to prevent that objection from happening? Or so you have leverage when you get to that objection. So for example, one of the discovery questions that I really like my clients to ask, if it's like paint protection film, for instance, that they're talking about, are you the only person driving this vehicle, or is there somebody else's driving habits that we have to factor in? Which is us trying to find out if we're going to get to the end of that sale and they're going to say, hey, I need to talk to my wife. And then I'm going back and I'm saying, oh, I mean, I completely understand. I would never want to get you in trouble. I also like to consult with people I trust when I make big decisions. But I'm a little confused. At the beginning of the call, I asked you if there was anybody else that was going to be driving this vehicle because we want to factor in their driving habits, right? I'm just a little confused. Is your husband somebody that regularly drives the vehicle, or you're just looking to consult with him to make a decision then, right? So it's figuring out how to reverse engineer that objection. So then when you get to the end, you're like, listen, because of the fact, or that you said, or you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I would never want to put you in a situation where you felt pressure. One of my lines, and when people watch this, that you can use it. Okay. I never want to be a negative in your life. I don't want to be a negative in your business. I don't want to be a negative in your life. I do not want you to look at your credit card statement, see my business name on it, and regret spending a single penny with me. So I need to make sure that you have all the facts to make a decision. And if I'm not the person for you, that's totally fine. That's okay, right? But teaching someone how to reverse engineer an objection is hard because you have to teach somebody how to think sequentially of the questions that, like, how to parlay questions, how to think sequentially of, I'm in this call with this person. This is where I want this person to be. These are the questions I'm going to ask. I'm assuming they're going to answer this way. When they answer this way, I'm going to ask these questions. Sales is service to people. Sales is not, you're not an order taker. You're not a vending machine. Like, sometimes I'll throw that out and be like, bro, are you a vending machine? Like, why are you just giving people what they ask for? Like, why aren't you digging? Why aren't you figuring out what they actually need? Yeah, I guess it's like reverse engineering the objection, but also just teaching people to really imagine the sales process. It's hard. That's something very difficult to do, but they get it eventually, for sure. It's just, it's a hard thing to teach, and people don't teach that, honestly.
No, it's a really good point, right? That whole preempting objection with good questions. Again, going back to being curious, it makes sense, right? If you're
100%.
more curious, you're naturally going to have, or you're going to be armed with a lot more of the scenario that you really need to paint in order to make sure that you don't paint yourself into a corner. Well, Marissa, this has been hugely entertaining and helpful for me personally, because again, I'm going through it right now in terms of like my sales process and everything. So there's definitely a lot of stuff for me to think about. So I appreciate your time today and chatting with us about it. It's been really fun and super enlightening for me. So Eric, great find.
He's the best. Anytime I get stuck on a sales call, I'm like, what would Marissa do? Push through this.
Yeah, Steven, my life is a little crazy, but anytime you want to just like get on a call and just yap to me about what you do and where you're stuck, we'll tease it apart. We'll figure it out. I kind of have this thing now where I'm trying to think, it's cool to me when I like taking apart these puzzles with sales, because it proves that sales is sales, right? It's not nuanced. In my opinion, the only thing that's nuanced, sales, like product to product or company to company, is the product you're selling, because that changes everything else. Right? Changes all like process with sales and stuff. If you have like implementation, like whatever, if it's software related, whatever. But at its core, sales is sales.
Yeah, you're probably gonna hear from me because I got a lot of questions, not just for myself, but for a lot of my clients, because generating a lot of leads over here, and these guys got to close a little bit better so we can do better. So.
Yeah, of course. No problem.
Awesome. Well, that's the pot. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye, guys.